Welcome to this explainer on mastering the California Bar Exam MCQs. We've designed this specifically for you law school students who really need that strategic edge to pass. Real quick, before we jump in, please like this explainer, subscribe to our Law Office Study channel, and definitely tell all your study buddies to do the same if you like what you learn here today. All right, let's get into it.
Today, we're totally demystifying the newly revised official student guide from the State Bar. And look, we aren't just going to glance at a few practice questions. No, we're using this document to build a highly strategic, completely practical, and incredibly high-yield methodology for your prep. We're literally going to reverse engineer the test.
Here's our strategic attack plan. We're looking at the bar exam blueprint, hacking those content maps, the anatomy of a bar MCQ, the explanation strategy, and wrapping up with your final strategy and takeaways. It's a full journey from the macro level of what to study straight down to the micro level tactical breakdown of how to actually answer on test day.
Section 1. The Bar Exam Blueprint Revealed, the 7 core subjects. Let's pull back the curtain on the fundamental blueprint of the multiple choice exam.
So the official guide tests the classic 7 core subjects: civil procedure, constitutional law, contracts, criminal law and procedure, evidence, real property, and torts. Now, I know, you probably knew that already, but here's the real secret to passing. Not all topics within these massive subjects are weighted equally. If you're treating every single page of your commercial outlines as equally important, well, you're going to burn out way before you ever reach exam day.
Which brings us to Section 2, hacking the content maps to find the high-yield gold. Let's see how we can use this data to ruthlessly prioritize your valuable study time. This is where the magic really happens.
Okay, what's really fascinating here is how the data completely exposes the true breakdown of constitutional law. Look at this. Individual rights makes up a whopping 50% of all con law questions. 50%. Meanwhile, separation of powers, judicial review, and the federal-state relationship, they just hover around 16 to 17% each. So if you're spending the exact same amount of time studying the Dormant Commerce Clause as you are First Amendment free speech, you're just wasting precious hours. You got to follow the data. Half your con law study time absolutely needs to be spent on individual rights.
And we see the exact same high-yield gold mine in torts. Mastering negligence alone accounts for half of the entire subject's questions. Strict liability and products liability, combined, they only make up 16%. You absolutely have to secure those negligence points first before you let yourself get bogged down in the weeds of niche torts. It's a total game changer.
Now, for civil procedure, the bar examiners are incredibly specific. Pretrial procedures and motions each carry a 22% weight. Put those together and they make up nearly 45% of the entire subject. Meanwhile, trial, judgments, and state law applied sit way down at just 9% each. This right here shows you exactly where you must focus your efforts to get the absolute highest return on your study investment.
All right, Section 3, Anatomy of a Bar MCQ, Deconstructing the Trap. Now that we've nailed down those macro high-yield areas, let's pivot to our micro strategy and dissect the actual anatomy of a test question to see exactly how they try to trick you.
Let's look at question 8 straight out of the guide. A defendant and a co-felon plan to rob a dealer. Unbeknownst to the co-felon, the defendant has a loaded gun. The defendant unexpectedly shoots and kills the dealer. The co-felon takes no money and they both flee. So what crime applies to the co-felon?
You're staring at these 4 homicide choices and you have to identify the right conviction for the co-felon. You know, the person who didn't pull the trigger and didn't even know there was a weapon. Under the intense stress of the exam, honestly, all of these might look like totally plausible homicide theories.
That perfectly tees up Section 4, the explanation strategy. Inside the examiner's mind, this is the absolute most crucial part of your study loop, using the State Bar's own explanations to learn exactly how these test writers think. Do not just check to see if you got it right, you have to read the reasoning. So, the official guide tells us the correct answer is B, felony murder. Why? Well, because the co-felon attempted an inherently dangerous felony, the robbery, and a foreseeable death occurred as an outgrowth of that action. The examiners are heavily emphasizing the agency theory of felony murder here. Even an unintended killing by a partner during an attempted robbery, it fits the rule perfectly. The really crucial takeaway is that reading the explanations for the wrong answers teaches you how to spot future traps. For instance, why is depraved heart murder wrong? The guide explicitly states that depraved heart requires extreme recklessness and a wanton indifference to human life. The co-felon here only intended to use the gun for fear, not with extreme recklessness. Actually, scratch that. The co-felon didn't even know about the gun. The point is, boom, you just learned the exact boundary line for a totally different rule directly from the test makers.
Similarly, the guide clearly explains that options C and D fail because the co-felon completely lacked the specific intent to injure or kill. They just wanted to rob the dealer. By eliminating these specific intent crimes, the explanation neatly isolates that agency theory of felony murder as the only legal fit. This right here is exactly how you deconstruct an exam question.
Let's quickly see how this applies to another subject. We'll look at question 1 dealing with separation of powers. And remember, that's a 17% topic in con law. A U.S. naval base is suddenly attacked. The president deploys forces immediately without congressional authorization. Is this constitutional?
Notice how the distractor answers intentionally try to trick you by misstating the law or just wildly overstating constitutional concepts. Choice B literally makes up a fake 1-hour rule out of nowhere. Choice D claims the president has absolute plenary power. That is a classic bar exam trap. Always, always watch out for extreme words like plenary, absolute, or always.
The official explanation confirms C's correct. It references the historic prize cases to remind us that the president possesses the immediate power to repel sudden attacks as commander-in-chief. C, you aren't just learning the right answer, you're learning the exact historical precedent the examiners rely on.
And finally, Section 5, Final Strategy and Takeaways, your action plan. Let's pull all of this together into a highly actionable, totally stress-reducing study loop for you and your study buddies.
Your attack plan is super simple. Step 1, use those content maps to isolate high-yield areas like negligence and individual rights. Step 2, practice the sample questions to really get a feel for their phrasing. And Step 3, meticulously analyze every single right and wrong explanation. Please, whatever you do, do not just score your practice sets and move on.
This brilliantly illustrates why reading the explanations is so vital. By minding them, you extract crystal clear rules of law written directly by the bar examiners themselves, like this perfect definition of felony murder. Seriously, put quotes exactly like this directly onto your flashcards. It's the literal wording they want to see and test you on.
So, I'll leave you with this. Are you ready to hack your study time and conquer the California bar exam? By mastering the macro content maps and actively avoiding those micro wrong answer traps, you are setting yourself up for some serious success on exam day.
Please ask your study buddies to join you in this strategy. And remember, please like this explainer, subscribe to our Law Office Study channel, and tell all your study buddies if you liked what you learned today. Thanks so much for joining me. As you open your books tonight, ask yourself, which wrong answer trap will you reverse engineer next to guarantee your success? Catch you next time, and happy studying!